Hey Falcons, this is Mrs. Mikett in the Falcon Library. We're here today to talk a little bit about some nonfiction book titles that you might want to use in your AP class with Miss Donohue. I will call your attention to the fact that this is the Albany Public Library edition. When I'm not here at Albany High, I work over at the public library, and my goal for this book talk is to share with you the options of using Hoopla. Hoopla is one of our audiobook platforms at Albany Public. And so the book titles that you are going to see are instantly available on Hoopla. Why are we asking you to look at audiobooks? Because this is an intense project. You will need a print copy of your book. You're going to be using post-it notes throughout your book to capture specific annotations and close reads. And the audiobook could support you in that work. And the other reason we're talking about this is because we are seeing some data about college kids that can't read books. This article is from the November 2024 edition of The Atlantic magazine. And professors across the country are seeing kiddos getting to college who have yet to read a full book from cover to cover. So we're trying to provide more supports for kids to get through books. And that's why we are asking and advocating for you to not only have the print copy of the book that you can put post-its in, but also the audiobook version. So these books, again, are all available in Hoopla, and you will work with me directly to access these titles. You will need a public library card, but I'm going to help you get one if you don't have one. Lastly, this article I'm going to share with Miss Donohue, and she's going to drop it in the Google Classroom if she so chooses. So let's get started. Here we go. The first title is called The Perfect Storm by Sebastian Junger. This book is profiling a storm in the Atlantic Ocean in the fall of 1991, and there was a fishing boat called the Andrea Gale that had 6 commercial fishermen on it who were out there trying to get the day's catch. Well, they stumbled into one of the worst cataclysmic storms on the eastern seaboard in memory, and it was popularized by the movie. To your right, you'll see George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg. This is the true story of what happened to this crew of fishermen. You'll notice too, I put the hours, 9 hours and 25 minutes. Don't be intimidated by those times. You can speed up and slow down the audiobook. And also you might only need to listen to portions of it. So don't get hung up on the time. The next book is called College Girl Missing. This picture on the right, this is Lauren Spearer. This young woman disappeared at the University of Indiana in Bloomington. She was out with friends, college friends. She was a sophomore. She had a boyfriend, some friends. She had a social life and literally disappeared off the face of the earth in June 2011. She still has not been found. This author is Sean Cohen. He is a newspaper reporter turned investigative reporter, and he interviews friends and family to try to find out what happened. Where is Lauren Spear? What happened to her? And again, this one's 4 hours and 58 minutes. The next one is a favorite of mine. This is called Blitzed, Drugs in the Third Reich by Norman Ohler. You'll look at the top of that man's head. Obviously, you can see this is Hitler. One of the things that we learned about in World War II is that German chemists before World War II made incredible strides in science, and things like the hypodermic needle became commonplace, and they developed drugs in the methamphetamine family that were actually used by German soldiers. So during World War II, the Allies, the Americans, the French, the British, they were stunned at how the German soldiers could fight for days on end. Well, guess what? They were all high on speed, which is methamphetamine. So find out what happened in this book by Norman Ohler. This one's 13 hours and 20 minutes. Next up, we have The Radium Girls, the scary but true story of the poison that made people glow in the dark by Kate Moore. So, in the earlier part of the century, in the 1910s, the isotope radium was isolated, and it was all the rage. It was used in beauty products. It was used in lotion. It was used in food. It glowed in the dark, right? So girls were using it. They painted things with it, but they had no idea that it was absolutely radioactive, and until it started making all of the girls in the radium factory sick. So Kate Moore profiles what they learned about these girls who became very sick from working in the factory, from being exposed to radium. And this one is 6 hours and 45 minutes. Next, we have Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism by Amanda Montell. This one's 8 hours and 21 minutes. Have you heard of cults in your lifetime? Have you heard of Scientology, the family, Jim Jones, QAnon, even Charles Manson? Cults use very specific strategies and tactics to lure people in and then to keep them there and keep them afraid from trying to leave. There's even some suggestion that multi level marketing organizations use some of these tips and tricks to keep people involved in their organization. So I love that one, cultish. Next, we have I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer. This is Michelle McNamara. Now, the Golden State Killer uh, terrorized the state of California over a period of several years and then went dormant. And if you haven't been following, true crime is a huge industry. There's lots of streaming shows and podcasts. And this book has not only an HBO documentary, but it also has a podcast. Michelle McNamara was a regular person who just started compiling details about this case, and she ends up solving the case. It's amazing. And you can listen to the podcast, you can watch the documentary, listen to the audiobook, read the book in support of your research. 10 hours and 12 minutes. Next, we have The New Jim Crow. This is by Michelle Alexander. This is an older title, but it still stands the test of time. Jim Crow laws in the earlier part of the century was what happened in parts of our country, in the South specifically, where they had separate facilities. They had white bathrooms and what's called colored bathrooms. That was the term they used. They had white movie theaters and black movie theaters and different entrances and waiting rooms. Well, Michelle Alexander has posed using research that the new Jim Crow is actually mass incarceration of people of color. So there's lots to unpack here. She also is featured in a few documentaries on Netflix. I think there's one featuring her that's called The 13th. Check that out, 16 hours, 57 minutes. This is one of my personal favorites. This is called I Got a Monster, The Rise and Fall of America's Most Corrupt Police Squad. If you're interested in learning about how police departments work, this is one of the most corrupt uh, shock teams in Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, Maryland. And if you look at the picture in the upper right hand corner, John Bernthal is the main character. He's been in a lot of things. He's been in The Walking Dead, but he's the main character, which is the captain of this team, who essentially their whole job is to go after people selling drugs in their city, but they end up selling the drugs and arresting their competition. And it's so corrupt and disgusting. And there's murder and intrigue, and you can pair the documentary with the book. 7 hours and 55 minutes. All right, this one is called Saigon, a misfits memoir of great books, punk rock, and the fight to fit in. This is by Phuc Tran, and this kid arrived in the United States in the mid 1970s after the end of the Vietnam War. If you look at the title, Saigon, that's a word play on the city of Saigon in Vietnam. And he arrived here in this country not speaking English, and his parents were hardworking immigrants. He had a lot to go through as far as transitioning as a kid that didn't speak English, and his parents also worked incredibly hard. He ended up being a skateboarder and listened to some great music, was really into punk rock. I love this one. This is one of our summer reading titles from a couple years ago, 10 hours and 48 minutes. You'll love this. And then lastly, this is Jennifer Pan, A Daughter's Deadly Deception. This young woman was a very academic and studious kid in Toronto, Canada, and she was studying to be some type of doctor in the medical field and ends up murdering um, a few people closer in her life, and she had an elaborate and intricate web of lies about what she was doing it and why. And her father uncovered it. So again, you can also see this as a Netflix documentary too. All right, that's it for me, friends. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in any one of these titles, you're going to connect with me. We're going to figure out your public library card, and we're going to instantly download the title on Hoopla. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more screencasts from the Falcon Library.